Why is food addiction so important that it's got to be pushed? Let's look at the circumstances surrounding it as if anyone can do anything different and have some deep, complex fucking thing going on. What happens? What is food used for? Well, who pushes the idea that you need to spend all your money on food? Well, it's Bill Gates, who now it's his people, it's the good Christians. They want to, now they're taking away food. They're like jacking up the price. And after they've spent thousands of years convincing people that they must have food and buy it all the time and work really hard to make it, and then now they're taking it away and they're like selling like plants and dirt as food and stuff. And of course, like the rich people are still eating eggs and steak every day and stuff. Elon Musk and the preachers and Joe Biden and the rest of them, they'll be eating that stuff. Bill Gates will be eating that stuff and stuff. But okay, so let's look at that. Okay, so the TV used to tell us this. Now, what would the TV also tell us this? Between Bigfoot stories, the world was starving and they needed your donations. And so who needed your donations? Well, it was Bill Gates and pals. It was their racial supremacy religions that needed your donations. Just like they needed your donations for literacy, and then somehow everyone's not illiterate, and online there's millions of accounts online, billions of accounts online posting. It's hard to tell these days if they're actually just the humans being their usual bot selves, or they're actually just, like they're not even ever going to create a shell for it, that type of bot. But okay, so you have those people who go around begging for donations. They like the most recent tribute to the Lord out there is the tariffs, where they try to convince simpletons, which I don't know if anyone's actually convinced of that. They just, they use their media, and only their race gets to talk in it. So that's all you get to hear. No one else is allowed to do anything. So if you hear someone say something, it's probably them, right? It always looks like them. And rare instances, we can only prove that their children are them. Or, yeah, obviously they're them if their parents are them, right? So sometimes weird things happen, like half rodent looking people like Donald Duck, President Donald Duck, have like full rodent looking children who go full rodent with their racial supremacy religious choices. And so we got that group who clearly, like, pretty much everything they say is a lie, right? Everything they say, like, they're raping male children, only male children, and they're like anti-gay and they're anti-pedophile. Like, and they're peaceful, truthy people who literally have colonized most of the planet through war, and about 5 to 14% they entirely genocided those fuckers, and the rest they just kept alive to be slaves. So let's look at the people who are talking about this the most, and let's discover what their personality types are and what things they generally do and say and why. Me personally, I have my own personal interactions with their group who has tried to terrorize me. Obviously they're doing that to everyone since our births. It's the point of their pedo mutilation ritual is to let you know you're a slave and they'll kill you at any moment if you don't obey them. And that way you always have that gang marking. And plus, part of the slavery there is also, of course, if they half chop someone's wiener off, it won't look like they're castrating you, but they will be castrating you. And they expect a higher return on slaves that unwanted races are creating for them to have labor and stuff. So we have those people doing those things, and they're one of the main components of this everyone must eat. Everyone must eat. I don't know about you, but I know there's a lot of times where I didn't eat, and if I'm not actually doing like a lot of fucking hard labor, then my body doesn't even tell me I need to eat. I'm not addicted to much of anything. So, like, it's pretty rare my body would be like, oh my God, you don't have something like crack or food. So, even the days I do eat, it's rare to, like, come up the next day. And I also think that's a scam they push, too, because, I mean, these same good, truthy, anti-homosexual, pedophile homosexuals, they control all that, and they have to, they use their media. They've had thousands of years to create these lies and deceptions about who they are and what they've been up to. They started out as being half-bird people by wearing bird masks and stuff, and it just it evolved from there. So, this is 6,000. This is the half-bird people, 6,000 DNA line later and shit. The words and the actions they promote. It's like watching your neighborhood crackhead. If one day he's just like, I'm doing this for good cause, like when their people wash your windows in New York while you're at a stop sign, like I guess they're known to like punch you if you don't give them money for it, even though you don't need your window washed. Something like that. Kind of like, this is their root cult here. This is what it does. It goes to your nation, and it's like, give me all your land and all your money, and be my slave, or else die. And they give you these ultimatums. So let's analyze people telling you things, and let's see who they are. We should always analyze people before we even allow them to speak to us, let alone come into our lives or convince us of anything they say, right? That's a good idea, except for no one I know has ever said too many good ideas like that. So I'm not sure, maybe I'm the first onto it, or it's not a good idea, or it's the people who would not want you to discuss them and who they are and what they're up to. So we have them, with their assorted, it's like pretty much a cult of extreme fucking lies, like all of them. And obviously they've invented 241 true cults. As if that's not the only thing that even matters, is that we are inventing 241 true cults. And it doesn't matter who owns them, but then you see one person owns them, and it's like, oh, yeah. And so they're deeply tied into that stuff. And what I've noticed is their cult in my life, they will do things like force you to work for them and take everything you own from you. And then they'll give you like a little bowl of soup. And they'll be like, see, I don't ever say I didn't do anything for you. Or I'm not, I didn't give you anything. Like, this is literally them. Like, they'll be stalking you and taking your entire life away from you. And then end up coming out and finding you. They'll like hunt you down if you try to go live outside to avoid them, apparently, because this is how their race gets fun. It's fun times, raping children and enslaving and mutilating people. You can tell if you've ever met them, or just the black fucking devil eyes they have, like a lone, says soulless fucking creature. It's really weird how they're actually designed on the art fucking pad, their characters to look like that, and they just happen to be like that. Like Jeffrey Dahmer looks like a child rapist, and things like that. you know, fucking. So let's look at this. Why do we need to be addicted to food? Well, the TV said so. And who owns the TV? Well, we know who owns the TV. And who on the TV is telling us? Well, they're branding it. You know, it's just like the hospitals and the government. They brand themselves with their racial supremacy medallions and garb and you know symbols and names. So they drop the branding. You know, sometimes these clowns say the reason why they do that is because they're bragging about what they do to release their karma. So we should really look at that. And then they're doing it. It's happening, whether they're in control or not. It's kind of stupid for them to do it. I don't think they have any karma. If they did, I don't think they'd be walking or breathing. That's you know, like you literally you're 80 years old when you get to not hang yourself and escape to your mansion in Israel if you're selling all the children on earth. And yeah, obviously there are people inventing all these religions, so every word that these religions or anti-religions invent are fraudulent. There's no reason to even invent this stuff unless you're a fraud. Like the point of inventing some fraudulent is to defraud people, and therefore we can automatically understand that when someone is inventing and pushing something fraudulent, the point is to commit fraud against you. And this is clear as day to see this is how this is done and how this is pushed and stuff. So this has always confused me how people are so addicted to food and stuff like that. And yeah, I get to watch a lot of people, and so I've got to understand this. I get to be involved in some stuff, and I get to be shown some of this stuff. And generally, I think pretty much everyone I know who's been like, you gotta eat. Some people hoard food and don't like give it to you. That's fine. It's not your food anyways. But the three people I can think of off the top of my head are like, you gotta eat. Well, actually, let's think of four. That person was like working with the government. Just a lie, another liar inserted into my life. But literally, they worked with the government, so it's like that might have been a higher up liar than the rest. Obviously, I work with the media too. I mean, what more links do you need there? So I would say the three people involved in that, and these are the people who taught me this, not to take gifts from people and shit. Like, some of them told you that while like forcing you to take gifts from them and shit, taking all your shit from you in your life, and then giving you a little bowl of soup as if you even want soup. It seems to be that way. That this is involved in this. See, these people also own the drug trade, and they control the drug, and they'll force you on drugs. That you could be a toddler, you could be anyone, any age, and I'm assuming most people have faced them forcing drugs on you. So the same people selling the idea that people are addicted to food and you need food. It's like such a basic thing that you're not even addicted to it. You need it. Just like you're not addicted to the drugs, whatever drug they're selling at the time, you're not addicted to it. You need it. You need it to live. I mean, these are really simple patterns that these people carry, these things carry. So you can watch their patterns. You know, it's like 7 things. You can watch that pattern bleed over. It's like the Santa Claus shit. We already know that this is a person who is willing to lie, make up shit, and deceive you, and claim that it's for laughs and fun times. So we know that this is a person who lies and deceives and makes up stuff for fun times, and probably wants a lot of shit. We can tell by most people they want a lot of shit. They want money, they want Lamborghinis, they want mansions, they want yachts, they want a whole bunch of stuff. Maybe not for their family, but obviously if they have kids, I don't know. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who wants their kid to have anything, to be honest. Everyone I knew had an accident unless they were preparing for the Holy War. And so uh, I don't think anyone's ever wanted anything for their kids. There's a couple stories on TV, but you'd be a real delusional person if you think TV's real. You're probably taking down your giant bunny decorations around this time of year if you think TV is real, and you can trust what's going on there. And if anything, like that's the only thing we know about this world is you can't trust it. So that's like a basic thing that you're probably knowing. Over the age of 7, and if you don't have good parents teaching you anything, if you had parents setting you up to be sent to the slaughter by them for their benefit, you wouldn't have learned that by 7, and you won't learn that from them at all if they're setting you up for their gambit and stuff, because that shit gets passed down through people. I'm not sure what the thing is. I think it's just their DNA, but I used to think, oh, maybe, sometimes they'd be like, oh, well, my parents beat me, so I go beat everyone else, or my parents raped me, so I rape everyone else, and they're like their parents because they learn that. But did they learn to look like their parents because their parents neglected their looks or refused to do anything about their looks? Does Einstein's family, I'm sure he has plenty of children, their people breed like rats, like their religion tells them to even. But I kind of get the idea people don't need these books that tell them how to act. In fact, that's one of the biggest arguments from their controlled opposition, Satanism, is and atheism, other controlled opposition, is people don't need books that tell them how to act, and they should know how to act right. And it's like, well, yeah, that's just too bad the books don't help either, right? The books be like, don't rape, don't abuse and mutilate children, and then it literally tells you to do it for God, like God's going to kill you if you do it, but go and do it for God, because it's okay. And really, obviously what that means is if you're a different race, kill them for any reason you can find. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. So we have these people involved in all this stuff, inventing this everyone should eat thing. They're selling drugs. They're forcing drugs on people. They own the drug trade. So the crack dealer is going around the globe, the world's largest crack dealer, and forcing people to smoke crack, and then making the price real high, making you pay a fee to go see the drug dealer even. I mean, the tributes, the tariffs are all over the place, and they've just been building up since they graced the earth with their presence thousands of years ago. And now we're at the point where you're paying extra money to buy stuff from Asian people just because they fucking hate Asian people so much that they'll put that out there and try to see if you'll take the bait and go kill some of them, because the people you worship are stealing money from you and being like, oh, it's the Asians' fault. Like, this is literally this dude is selling Bibles yesterday, so this is the repeat pattern. We don't have to cover these things over and over and over. It takes one fucking sentence from these people for the most part. I'm a toddler, and the first time they say something to me, I understand like 1/7 of this person's personality profile and what they're capable of, willing to do, and are actually doing. And this is just, I can learn this from one sentence because it's really that simple. You don't have random people whose brains are popping and frying and mistakenly doing things like this, especially over and 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 over over again. Okay, so let's get to the food thing. What are my experiences with food? You know what? I don't even remember, but I do remember, like, some of the people who were forcing me with food, like they played this game with me a couple years ago where I was trying to live outside to avoid them. And somehow they show up before that even happens and start acting like my friends. And I know right away, you know, these are bad people. But I have no protection. You know, it's the Israelis and they're one of their Muslim friends, and they're like real big crackheads and shit. And they're trying to force drugs on me, as the Christian and all the rest of the Bible people have done my entire life and stuff. Again, the food is like the drugs. It's just they got away with it a few thousand years later and stuff. And now they've created a whole market, like it's a marketplace, like food. Like there's as many drugs on the drug shelf as there is food at the food store, and they control it the same way and stuff. They take away anything, like you can see now they're taking away any food that is like real food, which you probably only really even need because you're told you're addicted to it, so you are addicted to it. And you probably could eat plastic and get away with it and stuff. All the stories they invent. Oh, everyone's dying from something, yet all the hospitals were empty and there's no corpses in the road in 2020. Everyone's dying of something. And so you have these people inventing all this stuff. Inventing all these lies and delusions. Like literally this is the world's first book they brought to people. Before that, the writing was, they went and picked up slaves, probably Middle Easterners and Africans, because they're in Egypt and stuff when they're doing it. So they had them writing, you know, stories on the wall, which their people today interpret as those idiots thought that there's a half bird man on the planet because a person put on a bird mask. And you know, I'd like to think that humans aren't that dumb, but except for I would think if Joe Biden put on a bird mask and said he was a half bird god, I think most of the people I know would probably be violent towards me if I told them that's probably not a half bird. I think that's a person with a bird mask on. I know people who would indeed be violent. I knew before the COVID stuff that those would be the people who turned on me the second the government said anything and tried to kill me. And you know from 2020 which of those people would do that. And I'm suggesting that you already know from other things about these people that they're liable to kill you if you say something that the government has told them is correct and they want to believe is correct. So we could see how many people did that in 2020. That was almost everyone. I'm assuming that one dude I remember was a plant because he looked like them, so obviously. Looked pretty planty to me. I mean, those people were following me around, stalking me, trying to kill me that year, cut my brake lines, slash my tires and shit along with their piggies. And so I don't even think one person really existed. There was some weird little opposition party I went to with like 5 people, and then the 2 leaders were wearing masks, and obviously it would have been them trying to cover up their looks and stuff, but there's only like 5 people at that event, and besides the 2 leaders and me. And so that's pretty small. You know, there's a lot of people there. And so we might think that the half-bird people, you know, if they somehow, it looks like they've convinced people that they need food, and that's used for all sorts of things. That's used for wars. That's used to take people's children away. That's used to human explain, Abraham explain why they have to go to Africa and enslave them and all that. You can see on X right now, they're almost letting all their secrets out on X. There's a couple things they aren't talking about, but they're like, oh, those people are stupid monkeys, and they're never gonna go they're never gonna go anywhere without us and all this stuff. You can see that would be part of it. They're like, the food, and we know care packages and stuff like that are brought to people to invade their nations, and missionaries are used to invade nations. Obviously, maybe not everyone knows that, but China, the Asians are the smart people of the world, actually, not the other people. But supposedly they're smart enough not to let the missionaries in because they know they're going to bring food and books to help the people. And China, for some reason, doesn't think that these people are ever invading their nation to help them. I mean, literally, it was part of the war. Like, part of the terms of them stop invading China was they get to send mercenaries. I mean, missionaries, same thing. Right? Missionaries in. And China's smart enough to realize, like, if something's part of the terms of a ceasefire, that means it's part of the purpose of the war. It means it's probably part of the continuation of the war too. So they're smart enough to see that, and it's real easy to see too. You got a race going around the world telling everyone to worship them or die, and it's real friggin' easy to see. Supposedly, I think they killed everyone who was capable of seeing that, and that probably just left a bunch of kids alive, women alive who were being raped, and then they had kids who were half slaves, like Kanye and Barack and everyone else in Hollywood seems to be. And like I have in my life, I have one specific group who forces their way in my life, my whole life, and then falls for the bait when I set the trap to see if that was actually happening and stuff. So those people inventing all those other methods of control and enslavement on the planet, and there's a whole bunch more. I'm sure there is. Like, okay, you got the drug trade they control, and they got to go invade Mexico and right now because they're interfering with their hospitals and the government, the Abrahamic God's chosen drug dealers, and because God likes pedos and drug dealers, so he likes them so much he builds them in the same temple, and there's some of the only buildings he puts his symbols on is where they do pedophile rituals and sell drugs. Those are the good people on the planet again, but I think it's more of like those are the most valuable assets on the planet, little stupid bits of powder that you can sell for thousands of dollars and corner the market on, and then create excuses to go kill and invade people. And the food thing is very similar there, where it's been used as a lot of propaganda for, hey, these people are stupid monkeys, they can't feed their children, they need us, you need to give us money. And then supposedly when you give them the money, they're going over there to teach them how to act right or help them and feed them. And then every time they help them feed them, they're bringing them a book telling them to worship their race as gods, Can't help and feed anyone without telling them, without fucking Hitler fucking coming along and trying to help civilize them, apparently. But in this nation, like from what I've experienced, is people who like literally will take everything from you and force you to work as a child, then take your money from you. They'll try to force you to spend it on, like, there are people have this habit of raping their way into other people and destroying the child. So this probably actually involves a bit of that. They detail this in their fucking racial manuscript there. It's called The Story of Esther. So it's a real simple book. It's got like 5 fucking talking points. You don't need 50 freaking chapters. It's just a way to fucking waste your time while they're fucking looting you and shit and deceiving you. They're like, oh, hokey dokey dokey dokey. And you're like, oh my God, what does that mean? I got to figure it out. I spent my whole life trying to figure it out. Thank you for the book. It's such a good read. Fucking, they got a lot of games involved with their shit there. And this isn't below them. This is them to invent that you need something. And you must give all your money to them for it. This is, where is this not? Where is this not at that I need something and I must give them all of my money for it? All these people who can't even spell the word PC need a smartphone in their hands, a new $2,000 updated one, to go on Facebook and find someone to cheat on their husband or their wife with. And you could really get away with like a $20 computer to do that. You wouldn't really need that unless you're going to do some like heavy media editing, production work, which you're not going to do that if you're not related to them, because you can clearly see they own all that. And so you're not going to, that's a waste of life to attempt to do any of that. It's a waste of life to really attempt to do anything, because you can see, like, I'm trying to find music they're not involved in so I can listen to music without them being in my life. And that's really, really hard to find, because that's been them for a while. It's them. Like, is there a book not written by them? They wrote the first book, and it was a book to brainwash the rest of the world with. I'm sure they were doing the pyramid carvings, considering they use that pyramid as their main source of power there. That's their main gang sign, long before the cross or the pentagram or the atheist symbol. They had the half-bird people, Eye of Ra, and which oddly translates to AI, and they seem like bots, so it almost makes sense, but some of it makes sense, and some of it's Santa Claus, open, like literally Santa Claus. Fucking like some of the other shit is makes sense, because it's like, oh, marry into these people so you can kill them and take everything they have from them to protect you, because they don't like you because you're invading their life and raping their people and raping your family, and forcing them to do that for whatever reason they were doing it the week before they invented that. Because Scooby-Doo told them, apparently, is the answer usually. It's really like, you don't, these conversations end where logic's way after logic has ended. The whole discussion, if you try to counter this with these people, if you waste your time talking to them, pretty much it will end. The logic to it will end with invisible people and shit. No real logic to it. Invisible people said I should rape children, mutilate children, and kill other races who rape and mutilate children. Invisible people said there's only one invisible person, but we're inventing hundreds of invisible people for different people that we colonize. And so we combine all this with, these are the people who are pretty much promoting every agenda out there, right? Because they own everything. Do you know anyone else who owns anything? I don't. I've been looking for it. There was that African American dude, forget his name, but he owned a record label, and that ended. Michael Jackson owned the rights to his own music, and then Michael Jackson's life ended when they didn't want him to have that. when they were trying to get that from, just happened in at that exact time. And so they own that. And then they're telling you should be addicted to music too, pretty much, which at this point I'm trying to break that, because it's like, apparently it's for their people only, and they send Abrahamics into your life to prevent you from doing anything if you're not with them. I'm not sure how that works, how they all get into that position there where only their race is allowed to make music and movies and stuff like that. But you can see that's, that's how it is. Obviously, their people are everyone in the governments, because they started that cult shit thousands of years ago when they were half bird people, because they put on a bird mask. That's actually when they were still, the government and the religion was still the same people, and then they had to split that up for better mind control. That way, if one person, if you're like, oh, I don't like these pedophile, rapist, enslaver people trying to get me addicted to food and drugs, they invented the opposition to that. And then you can go fucking rape children with Einstein instead. No one's even discussing the reasons why you wouldn't like these people. That's because they own the media. They're not going to discuss their core tenets, which are the only reason these groups have to exist, really, at the end of the day. They keep their supremacy alive. But the food thing, we had those murderous crackheads come into my life and then try to force me from living outside. And then they started trying to force me to go to church again. Like, how many times have they sent whores and fucking dildo brains fucking to do that? Unfortunately, not too many, but it's enough to analyze the patterns of the people doing it and what they're doing, at least for one person. Only stayed for like a week, and just, it's so weird. It's like, why would you do that? Like, do you really think, like, you could just take me to the kennel and drop me off and I'll stay at the kennel or something? Like, especially after previous failure attempts. It seems to be, their people are pushing all this shit, obviously, and they're doing a lot of this for tribute. You can see right now, you got the stores selling eggs for like $8 a carton, and the store owners are them, right? This is what happens when one group owns everything. COVID can happen because the people own the stores can shut down the store when they're twins, that the people own the government, and when the media is their triplet, sister, brother, and then the hospital is also their people, the quadruplet, and those four, it's real simple, those four brothers can come together and discuss everything they always have been. And it's not like it's a new plan. It's just like, well, it's time to manipulate and enslave and kill. And they're just like, well, how are we doing it this time? And so they come together. So you have the stores working with that, and I don't see them putting the videos of farmers up there, but I'm sure if they did, it'd be like those, those special looking farmers who've never done a day of work in their lives, talking about oh, there's an egg shortage. Supposedly the government was going around killing the birds because they've got the COVID and stuff. That's the only thing I heard on that. Like, they're not even talking about it. You see, they don't even talk about it. Like, that's what the government does. Nothing. They're just terrorists. Like, the government is working for the government. The government doesn't need to change anything. When they jack up the prices on eggs, all those people, those stores, the government, everyone gets more money. So they're not losing. There's no problem for them to discuss. They have all the money in the world. They can go buy whatever they want whenever they want. They make up money. Their families own stores. So they're using that. And you can see they started trying to switch over to selling plants and fungus 6 years or 10 plus years ago. And they got all these be positive, mindset people, these dildos who fucking probably have never done anything of value, never will. The estrogen furnaces, fucking, like the rainbow flag for whatever it is. It's along that line, that be positive, eat plants instead of animals, and cows are so special, and they're great people, and they're not mentally retarded, they're autistic, and they're gifted, they're great people, and you can tell there's like agenda been going on with that shit. So we approve. Everyone knows that there's an agenda going on with the food right now, and their people can't change. They can't come up with new ideas. They can't do anything, and so that part, which we can see applying across the board everywhere else, can be used towards us because we understand that this is their personality trait to always be acting like this, and if they're doing some, they were probably already doing it before. They didn't just start raping children today. They wrote books on it, on why to do it, and how it's great and beautiful 6,000 years ago. This is, they're not coming up with anything new. Fart joke? Do you think all the fart jokes Hollywood came up with in the 1900s up until like 1980? That's all they had was fart jokes and funny faces. I know retarded parents who never been to acting or writing class, and so it's not like they know how to write stories. They're not inventing anything new when they make stupid faces. They're not coming up with some cool new thing and make fart jokes and stuff. This is just, bottom line, what to expect and how they operate, what's going to continue to come out of their friggin' mouths and stuff. There'll be 80-year-olds fucking doing that shit. They've never stopped, and they're never going to evolve past it and shit. And so with the food thing, we see this happening today, and we can look at how the other patterns that they have been patterns for eternity. And they have this food thing going on, right? Like, they gotta jack up the prices. So in order to jack up the prices on food, what do you have to do to food? You have to sell it. You have to convince people they need it. In order to jack up the prices on drugs, what do they do in America? They go and they drug the children. So they have, so they're all strung out on meth by the time they're 8 or 9 years old. And tons of people are involved in it. Like, the government's involved in it, the schools, the churches, the people from the churches definitely. And they're involved in the food thing, in the literacy thing, with, taking donation. They're the donation takers, other than the government. They call it donation, and the government call it taxes and tariffs. And especially when it comes to tariffs, that's just a donation. So there we see a pattern. That's another pattern they have where their people can't do anything or have any new thoughts or ever change. Where they've been doing this for thousands of years, where they just find ways to take money and, the invisible Scooby-Doo say, give it to me, or invisible Scoobster said, it's for this reason, and we're going to go help the Africans we just enslaved. We're going to go teach them how to read books. Oops, we accidentally brought them over here and sold them as slaves, and we stole all their resources. We're going to teach them to read books. That way they can read the book we traded them for all their land and everything. Which probably is a lie that anyone would do that in the first place. That doesn't make sense. You go to a nation, and they'd be like, oh, you give me book for all my land and everything on it? Oh, yeah. Oh, it's a good book, you say. I don't even know how to speak the language you're saying. How do you make a trade if you can't even speak the fucking same language as someone trying to scam you and stuff? How do you make a trade? That part don't make sense either. Fucking, that's the pattern there is them never making any sense with their systems, like the tariff, and it's not because they're not making sense. It's because that's making a lot of sense to have the tariffs. They're lining their pockets. The Pope is getting an extra $2 a day from the tariffs. Bill Clinton's getting extra $2 a day. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, they're all getting an extra $2 a day. Fucking the store owners, they're all getting a couple extra dollars a day. Shit, fucking, they all get to raise the donation prices, and to me, it just looks suspect, the food thing. Now that part of that's like a personal analyzation of the world around me. Not everyone's like a scumbag trying to force food on me, but I would say, and maybe I'm more remembering those people because they're scumbags using it in a scumbag purpose, but I don't know. At the end of the day, I would say that's probably most of the people who needed food and needed to serve food. I mean, I literally served me food. I mean, how many people are involved in businesses that are selling food? Like, a fourth of the world's economy would probably collapse if people weren't addicted to food. Like a sixth of the world's economy is drugs and stuff. Like the normal person on the street, about 1 in every 30, half of their income is selling drugs, and then the doctors, 60 to 90% of their income is drugs. And then, of course, the government takes their tribute off of that stuff too. And it's the same pattern. Like, all these things are the same exact patterns going on. We just replaced the word food or drugs with food. Food with drugs or drugs with food. And like 90% of this would matter. Even some drugs you supposedly need. Now, there are people and their patterns are real easy to see, and it's like gerbils and bats, and the bat flies and then eats some fruit and then goes to sleep, has a little nibble. Yeah, I think and look, the answer to people being addicted to the food they're forcing on people, saying they must have and all this. Once a person becomes addicted and destroys their body and they stretch it all out into like a giant balloon, and their skin is fucking destroyed permanently for life, then and then if they try to deflate, they end up looking like a deflated balloon. Okay, so they do that. They have that going on. And the answer to that is to sell you more food. It's not to put out propaganda saying, what, people should eat less. Like, we have an obesity crisis in this nation. The whole world's making fun of us. You guys should probably eat a little bit less. How about that? How about them bananas? You guys are getting way out of hand. Yeah, they're supposedly hurting their lifestyle, their health. I know I know a big person lasted a long time, and you know what? I think he just lived a good life, and he wasn't stressed out, so he wasn't dying until later in life, when stress arrived at his door. Um, and that's a person who went to the military too. But then again, men like that shit. I doubt there's many men with PTSD like fucking war, dude. Like we're gonna men are gonna have war if we're not going across seas with each other. So um, I don't I don't know how stressful that is. It's literally like Boy Scout camp. I mean, that's literally what that is. It's being trained by the people invading other nations to train little kids to learn all their war, their pre-war survival stuff and stuff. So that's just like, that's like fucking day camp. So anyway, so like that person wasn't dying from that supposedly, but it definitely does wreck the body. They say. I mean, I've watched like people's bodies, look wrecked and stuff, and then I watched them look sad when they've never came back. Like they lose the weight, and then the body remains as big as it was. It just doesn't have those fat cells anymore. So the skin remains the same. And I've gotten to see, those people like embarrassed. Like I don't even think they were embarrassed when they were big, but now they look weird. Just like some of the people who get the duck lips, they don't look very excited about it. Some of them, you can't tell they got duck lips in their pictures because they're covering their face in every freaking video and in every photo and stuff. And again, this is another parallel to their great health institution, their great sex education, and the pattern where we can see where we're just selling people like dumbass things just to sell people something. It's almost like they've been looking for ways to force humans to work when there is no reason for the human to work. Like they just enjoy enslaving people. I think some people suggest they're aliens who are like feeding off their energy or something, but I think like it's a little bit more simpler if you see someone with a really simple pattern in their personality type who's enslaving and killing people and enjoying it, then they're probably probably begins with just enjoying it and stuff, and making people look stupid and laughing at them. But there could be deeper reasons for some of this. But the food thing, that parallels that in how we can see that pattern, over and over, like using the health thing. It's another, pretty much a separate thing within the health industry. The people with those patterns, that they're the ones also telling you need food. Obviously, they're the ones because they also got all those cult symbols on them and stuff. So either way, it's both of those people. They try to separate themselves, but how do you really separate? They act like the hospital is different than the church, and the church is different than the government. But how do you separate that when the pigs go around with their damn symbols on them, and the hospitals have their symbols and names? Like, maybe it's Scooby-Doo wearing a mask, and it's not really Scooby-Doo. You can't separate that. It's literally like people wearing the Ku Klux Klan hood. I mean, the Ku Klux Klan wears a cross too. Like, that's another easy parallel to see that all the racial groups are ran by one group, which is weird because they supposedly, none of them are that group, except for the Bible, which isn't a racial group, except for it is, and it's entirely bloodline, this bloodline, that, blood, bloodline. God chose we're the greatest. And you can see that parallel there coming from them, where they make those
continued patterns, very easy to see patterns, personality types, actions taken, and well, the hospital's serving you pedophile sacrifices and drugs. They're also the people who be like, oh, you gotta eat and all this. Eat some plants. Eat some lettuce. Eat some lettuce. If you go to the hospital, they probably charge you like $40, and they give you this little bowl of Jello for the meal, you know, and a couple pieces of spinach leaf, and a couple pieces of white bread, and some meatloaf or something. And they're probably charging your insurance like $40 for that, or you for it if you don't have insurance, which you're probably not going to be at the hospital if you don't have insurance because you can't afford it, you bum. But you can get away with some freebies here and there. But hey, those people are going around handing out freebies to nations, like when they ran the opium war on China. They went to go hand out part of the ceasefire, stop invasion of China deal was they get to go over there and hand out their freebies, and nothing could go wrong with that, right? Why would that be included in the war? You know, why would that be included in a ceasefire deal to come over and hand out books and free food to people? Because they're smart enough to know that that's being used to manipulate people. So we can see that the food's being used to manipulate people in different ways, and it's being used by the same people in several different ways. And my personal experience with them in my life, more recently, was them sending themselves in my life, playing, setting up with people I had been around my whole life. They somehow knew that their little cohort there was about to fucking play some games with me. And so they came to visit me in advance so they could set me up for this other place and shit. Long story, but it involved food. I've already told that before. Eventually, after, you know, them being crackheads and acting like crackheads, they're people who looked exactly like them, part of their little cult, played their little games with food, like where I'm supposed to be like, oh my god, you're giving me food. Like, literally, they're forcing me to take food from them and shit. They're forcing me to take shit from them. This is another pattern we see with food, too, is some of these people are forcing you to take food and stuff from them. And obviously, right away, this is a bad thing. Anyone who forces you to do anything, this person is a murderer and an enslaver. Like, that's that. Don't accept any answer because there isn't one. It's going to be some Santa Claus shit. People are lacking the ability to have different abilities and stuff. They really just seem stuck in some sort of code. I guess that DNA is like the DNA itself is like a virus or something that fucking has ate through the frontal cortex centuries ago or something, or maybe it's a little bit more obvious simpler what that stuff all means and stuff. But there are people who would be the first one to be like, well, it could be this, or it could be that instead, and it might not be that. And then, so we go back to the food thing. Well, it could be they're helping you. It could be China just wanting to starve their people and doesn't want people bringing them their free book and their free meals and stuff like that. It could be China wanting to starve their people, you know, like that's, and they would be the first to tell you that's how Chinese people act, and but how they act could never be predicted, and they're definitely not acting any certain way. Have, you know, it has nothing to. They're running all the Nazi cults, and they're the anti-Nazis at the same time. So Um, that's how they're the anti-racists the one race who owns everything on the planet. Like, so that right there would be, they have this pattern here where they're like, no, that's not me. I'm not out there. I'm not begging for money for crack. If food's expensive, I need $100 an hour for hamburgers these days. Even though it looks like I've never ate a hamburger. Yeah. So, and that's another pattern they have too, is using emotions. Like, if they start using emotions when they're discussing things, like, oh, do it for the toadwin. Oh, it is so kind, it's so loving. Once they start doing that, you can pretty much guarantee you they're manipulating you like that. That's how the crackheads, like, do that. That's how crackheads do that. They're like, my family, my kids is starving, I need money for crack food. And that's just like, most of them look like them, so might make some assumptions, but I'm in America where they're blaming everyone else in the world for what they're doing. Like, oh, I'm a European, so Europeans are genociding the Native Americans. Europeans are genociding the Arabs for some reason. Europeans killed the Abos in Australia. Just like, some invisible Egyptian people enslaved Egypt. And it wasn't them. They were victims of it. So. But anyways, yeah, see, so we have all these, we have like a few simple patterns coming from these people saying these words, and combine that with some of my personal experiences. Like, this is really confusing how, like, all of a sudden, all these accounts online or people can read and write, yet they were siphoning money off the population for decades because supposedly no one in the world knew how to read or write. And they all needed you to send them money, and they were going to send that money to somewhere else so they could learn to read and write. And read and write the book that they're going to give them, most likely, if they did actually do that. They're going to have them read about one of their gods, possibly Scooby and possibly Einstein. Because, as we know, like, Lord Einstein, genius Einstein, and his mutant crew are the new truth and light of the world. Gonna take you to space heaven and stuff. So, they have real simple patterns. And the food thing, like, it comes up as odd to me because I don't eat a lot, and it just sounds like people are addicted. And then I deal with people who are taking everything from you, and then like, they give you like a cheeseburger they found in a dumpster or something, and or any sort of cheeseburger, and be like, well, here you go, don't say I didn't give you anything. It's like, did you take my money from me to buy that or something? You can see those patterns though. Like, shit. I don't know, it seems suspect. You have obese people who aren't being told the answer is to stop eating, and what they do is they invent more food for them to eat. They invent fake food for them to eat. This poison tasting stuff too. And it's just a way to sell more shit, to build the stores bigger, to stock more shelves with them. And then you can see now they're playing the games with the food prices, which they probably always been doing, right? Like, it's probably always been that way. I don't see why it wouldn't be if they're in control of it, because there's not much of a history of them not doing this with anything they touch, is there? It seems to be they own the world, and you can see where the world is. Like they own all the media, and does it say anything of value? I can go learn like some slave stuff, like how to build a computer that's going to be obsolete in 2 years, and then Bill Gates, the owner of most of farmland, is going to cancel that and force me to get a new computer, even though I don't need it and it works just fine. Force me to get a new computer nowadays, force me to get a new software to go with it, just rebuy over and over. So there we got Bill Gates. Everyone hates him. And people hate him because he's buying up the farmland and stuff. So we have plenty of solid evidence that would place them in their reoccurring patterns, their genetic disposal to do something beside the food, because they're in the open doing it. He's buying up the farmland so he can claim that the birds are dying, and then his family's already bought up the stores so they can work with him and jack up the prices and stuff. This is what their people do over and over for thousands of years. And then they milk a nation dry, and collapse it, go to war to hide and destroy all the economy documents or any history of their people, any trace of what their people have been up to. That's why they hit religious buildings, because that holds like their writings and possibly the writings of one or two people who were on to it, and if there were an actual opposition religion, which I've never heard of it. It all looks like the same people plagiarizing the same stuff, which you wouldn't do if you were a thinking being who wanted to oppose the original pedophiles. You wouldn't plagiarize the pedophiles and terrorists and racial supremacists, especially that part. Like, you wouldn't do that if you're actually a different race. Now, if you're lying and you're one of these people who have just killed all the people in the land you're in, and you would act like you're someone else, of course, now you're someone else. If that's your, if you go the vagina route like that, which somehow works, the vagina route has colonized the earth. And part of that, I guarantee you, all along the way, there's wars. The wars, what do they involve? Drugs and food and money. So they involve food and land. And obviously, one thing they want to keep secret is killing other races off. That's a big thing for them, because enslaving them, apparently, like, that's pretty obvious to see. They've only killed a couple groups off, and then they enslave everyone else on the planet. And the food comes down to it. Like, there's so many links to they're just like forcing that, and then if you're eating too much food, we've got some new expensive food to sell you, and then that becomes like, it's like fake food that doesn't actually have any value. So you would still be hungry after you eat that, if you need food at all. And if you do need food and you eat that, you might as well just eat paper and stuff. But yeah, it's not the price of paper, it's the price of something much more expensive, which their people are obviously masters of money, and because they control it all, and they claim they're the only people on earth with any brains. So that's why they own all the banks and all that, and created the books to melt people's minds and control them. And you might be able to notice, if you've had this happen, that there are people out there who on the lowest level of humanity use food in these methods to try to manipulate and enslave other people around them. There's several things people do. Um, they drug people. They use emotions to manipulate other people around them. They use sex to manipulate other people around them. They use marriage. They use religion to manipulate other people around them. Like people you're close to who are like low level in the pyramid. Like they haven't even started washing toilets at McDonald's yet. Type. That's how low the manipulation can go. In fact, like when you get down to the food thing, like the food especially, that takes rich people to be drug addicts. You are dealing with a rich person if you're talking to a drug addict. It doesn't matter if they look like they're some pit-faced, torn up person who's been sleeping outside in the dumpster and never showering for like years, or being in the rain. That comes from liver damage, and that comes from the body filtering drugs, and so it comes through the pores and shit. Fucking that requires a lot of fucking drug money to do shit like that. And just like becoming obese requires a lot of money to do that, and time, I would assume. I really can't tell you for sure, because I can't like eat. Like I just don't eat. Like I try to sometimes, but it just doesn't work. But I'm assuming it's very similar and the same and stuff, that I get to watch other people around me like try to convince me how important food is, who are like doing other things, like like taking everything from everyone around them and shit so they can get food. If you ever notice with druggies, a portion, especially these ones who recently were involved with stuff, and food would be what their people would have given me to help me after they've enslaved and robbed and terrorized me. Okay, so like the beautiful rapist of the Abrahamic races, religions, whatever you want to call them. So you say it's a bloodline, you call it a religion. You're probably one of them. You probably got some of their DNA and you're making you lie about everything every time you speak. That's what it's about. You can't write it down and go against it. You can kill everyone who doesn't support it and doesn't believe your alternating lies. Anyway, so those type of people were trying to like get me to use drugs with them all the time, because what happens is after they spend their family's welfare checks or whatever on drugs at the first of the month, and they smoke all that meth within 2 days, they need someone around to buy them drugs for the rest of the month and stuff, because they be spending like hundreds of dollars a day on this shit. So what they do is they try to get other people addicted, so other people will start to bring them that stuff and shit. Not everyone's like that, obviously, but this obviously happens and stuff. And food, it's another parallel that people can use that for, is using other people for food like that, trying to get other people addicted to food so the supply continues to come in. But it seems to be like an addiction they're forcing on people. Have you noticed all the addictions, all the bad shit leads to the people who are really, really involved in it being all fucked up. Like, they show you, again, I think this is their race just acting this way sometimes, but I have seen some people pretty fried who, like, get fried. Like, right there, they take the shit and then their brain is gone. Fucking at least for a short while, if not forevermore. Yeah. I actually might say the time I seen that, they came back a little bit, but they were never the same. And I'm pretty sure they were purposely doing that shit to people. Obviously, that came from the government to fry people like that. Their people aren't doing that for fun times. They are the government. So if the government's trying to fry people with LSD, then that's them. They're trying to fry people with it. But you have that pattern there where people can use that to, you know, get you addicted. And then let's look at the other parallel where their hospitals do the drug thing, like I'm your hero and your savior because I control the drug monopoly and I've allowed you to obtain some drugs. If you need antibiotics or something, you can't get that unless you go worship them and give them all your money. And hell, they even have drugs to help you eat more food. So it's even tied into that stuff there. And look, they're kind of doing that with the food right now. The whole I'm your savior, I'm providing you with that. Like at the local store, like there is no eggs, so now you're going to have to go buy something from McDonald's with eggs if you want eggs. Which, isn't that odd? The price of eggs went up, but McDonald's can afford them. And that's weird, isn't it? Price of everything should go up like fucking threefold if the price of eggs goes up, but it hasn't just yet because they've got to slowly introduce their failure state there to erase the economy that they plundered from the world with this nation. And then, they control most of the world, so once they do that, no one will probably try to bomb them. They'll just be like, oh, we don't have any money. They'll be like giving, China, they'll be like, oh, we'll pay you all your $40 trillion. Now, $40 trillion buys like 10 eggs, so we can afford to pay that now. Anyways, it's a little bit different topic, but it's you can see from that the food supply is controlled, right? And it's not just poor farmers, their chickens all died and they gotta jack the price up now or something like that. It's like a part of a scheme where they control it, just like oil. Like if you've ever actually researched oil and stuff, like no one even knows anything about it. It's just Wall Street making up stuff, which is kind of like it's very close to this. You're not like getting high off oil or drinking it, but you definitely. It's in everything, even stuff it probably doesn't need to be in. It's in there, and it's one of these invisible Scooby-Doo things where they don't know where it's coming from. And there's this large network of price fixing, and you go to war for it. You go to war for food. You go to war for drugs too. It's very close. It's like we could combine that, since we're broadly generalizing drugs and food. Technically, I'm at the point where I might as well just consider like food a drug and shit itself because it's ingestible. But resources would be technically food does fit in the resources. But if we're talking about oil, I'm talking about currency. And food still fits that, but like titanium and sterling silver and gold. Oil would be categorized as that. Some people do eat gold and silver, but I could say non-edible. It's like a non-edible market. And shit, they even call the food market the food market. And if you've ever looked into these things, like the stock market and the oil, it's just surrounded by like nonsense. Like they don't even know where it comes from, and they're like, you start out as a kid, your parents are telling you it comes from dinosaurs or something, and it turns out to be like they aren't going to tell you if they know where it comes from. That's all I know about it. If they aren't going to tell you if it actually comes from somewhere. Some people think it's just an infinite resource. I haven't heard anyone say that. I've heard the line of thinking that leads to that without those words following it up, but that is what it is. So that's when you end the story, when the conversation ends and the idea has been put forth, and that means that's where we have made our most logical conclusion on a topic and stuff. And that's where these where the things end. So we haven't even had this discussion about food and food addiction. The answer to obesity crisis is to sell more food. Like, it's not to have a topic discussion. It's to sell more food. So someone is earning something from selling food. If we just avoid the discussion and go straight to selling more food when selling food becomes a problem, it looks like a clear direction to take to choose not to discuss selling less food. Maybe selling less food. To me, that makes sense. Like if I gain a couple pounds or something, what I do is I eat less food. Call me crazy, maybe a little bit psychotic and autistic or something, but I get this weird feeling and I eat less. I eat like a slice of pizza less or something each day, and then at the end of the week, that 2 extra pounds is gone. Okay? And that works for me, but you don't hear that being discussed. You have people, that whole taking food out of food to fix obesity, that hurts people who need food and then makes them have to buy more food too, because if they actually need calories and stuff, if they actually need proteins and stuff, and that's being taken out of the food, they have to, if you got a construction worker, a bodybuilder, a wrestler, athlete, something like that, and they're sitting around drinking and eating diet food, being served low-calorie food, they're going to have to eat some more food in order to get those building blocks back there. And so what happens when we make the decision um, uh, to create food to non-food, fake food, to help people who are eating too much food, rather than just be like, oh no, don't eat, like cut back a little bit or something. That's really all it takes. You don't have to like starve yourself. That's kind of ignorant. Your body will go into lockdown mode if you would do that anyways. I'm sure there's a lot of, I get the warning sign like right away if I'm eating too much. Hell, I get the warning sign because I can just feel my body, like my blood pressure rising, and usually from all the salt that's thrown in everything, or that's required to put on a lot of stuff to make it taste like food. I get that warning, that's for sure. Anyways, yeah, it feels like it's another addiction, and we got this pattern here where it's another addiction that's being used to prey upon people. And we got this pattern of, I mean, we got people putting their symbols on it. We got these people talking about they have to do that too to release their karma for everything they're doing, and I don't necessarily believe that, because that's just like their 300th religion, New Age karma and stuff. But the price fixing definitely goes on, and the price fixing is going on drugs for sure. The price fixing is going on in a lot of other areas. The price fixing is going on eggs right now. The price fixing has probably been going on for stuff for a while. Look, they had the whole scam like 2012 or something, where they reduced food packaging, and now that's so they can sell more and stuff. If you eat food, I'm not sure how reducing the size of the package is going to convince you to eat less, except for the fact you're going to run out of money. That's obviously done for different reasons than that, right? That's done to profit. And how are you going to profit off food if you don't convince people they need it? And they've had so many years to do this, and they have this habit of being able to convince people of things for all sorts of reasons. But one of them is just one of the methods. Basically, is like, you must have this, and I mean there's a few things that are real popular, that are real old, that people must have. Donald Trump was selling some of those things that people must have and stuff, or else they'll be tortured forever. And we can see there are people with the drugs thing, like they must sell children meth and stuff. This isn't even done. This isn't even done just for profit. This is clearly, these things like this would clearly be done to like fry and kill people. Once there are people in their repeated patterns of things like that, they openly brag about that. Donald Trump was selling a book, which the third set of a second or third set of a trilogy. They came out with two of the volumes at the same time. So, two of the cults at the same time. So it's hard to tell whether that's supposed to be the second or the third in the trilogy. Or so far, it was a trilogy. It then turns into quadruplet or whatever that's called, and now they've got like officially 6 major versions and 20,000 rewrites, 20,000 different offshoots and stuff. Of, of a book he sells that talks about stuff like not necessarily fixing prices, but it does like glorify food. I'm pretty sure. I'm trying to think of the exact passages that would glorify food addiction and stuff, or the need to eat when it feels kind of like you know in all actuality, Jesus fed like his followers with one loaf of bread, right? And the weird thing is, I hear humans saying, like, with like one of the dumb oppositions to the Bible is you can't do that, and it's like, bro, I literally, if you're starving, if you haven't been eating for a few days, you're not even going to be able to eat a lot, and you could easily eat like a piece of bread and not be hungry. I do that all the time. Like I'll go have like a bite to eat, and then I won't even eat till like the next day or something if I don't take the time to sit down and make a whole meal. If I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a snack right now, and then in 15 minutes I'll get to it. Doesn't happen. Hell, I do that with bread. I like, if it's fresh bread and all that, like, boy, if I don't eat the whole loaf right then, definitely I can just have like a couple bites and that'd be over. So like my body isn't like being addicted, and I don't remember eating most of my life, and my body was like really well taken care of most of my life. That's a weird thing, because I didn't always have hot water at all the houses I lived at. I don't remember taking care of myself very well. I just, I didn't do a lot of crazy stuff. One of those things I didn't do is eat a lot. Like, I don't even remember eating, so it would have had to have been other people like bringing me food, or practically forcing me to eat or something. Sometimes people would give me money to go get food. That's not where the money went. I'd go buy a CD or go to the arcade with it or something. If I had the choice and all I had was $5, we definitely weren't eating that day. We were going to buy a shirt or a CD or something. So I know personally, like, I don't remember the exact numbers, but I don't remember eating it. And I know it's so insignificant. Some meals I remember eating, but I don't think I did. So it feels like this right here would be the whole thing that would provoke my inquisition into the whole thing. It's because it seems so weird how it's like eat, and like I'm like stocking my house with food, like, just in case someone comes over and wants to eat or something, like, then I don't eat. And it doesn't, like, I don't see goody gumdrops placed everywhere in the world. I don't see everything being for the greatness of existence happening. I don't quite see that illusion. If anyone else sees that illusion, I know if there are people who live like out in the countryside in a small town with like 100 houses, maybe 500 houses and stuff. That's a small city. If you live in the middle of nowhere, like my grandparents lived on a farm, and like if we didn't have cars, I definitely wouldn't be spending all day walking to the neighbors and then spending the night walking back, you know. So when you're in a when you're in an area like that, when you're in a small area, you might not get to a study like the ebb and flow of civilization and people and things going on. And the best thing you're going to have is whatever the TV and the radio says, really. Um, I used to be, I used to wonder how my family did that. It's like, how do you guys even live? Like, you guys own a farm, and what do you guys eat? Corn? Like, corn's not even real food, is it? That's another thing that ties into this here is, anyways, if you're not one of those, you know, if you're one of those people, like these city folk talks, it's probably a lot harder to see, like, you know, what goes on amongst people actually, and but that's another thing. The corn thing is man, like my family was like growing corn. Half of my family on their farm, they grew corn, and they had some livestock, not a lot. They mostly had the field planted with corn, it looked like. And it's like, is that how you ate? Because I don't think corn's like real food. I think it's like a filler and stuff. It just goes through you. And I'm pretty sure most of the time when someone does that, it's not actually food. And they say that too about corn. So that's weird that, you know, these people might have been surviving on eating mostly corn, yet they're still alive. And I know a couple members of my family, like obviously the old ones look old. You can't really tell anything about their health because they look old. But I know that the younger members who lived on the farm, they didn't look like malnourished. Well, I mean, one was like, had a little bit of weight to them. But from what I've seen, without asking what's going on, I would think they probably ate a lot of corn, which turns out to be, they say, isn't even real food. It's just mostly a filler and stuff. So those people were living on that. And many other people probably were too. I mean, what else do you grow on a farm? You have to have livestock. You know, you gotta have chickens to have eggs. Yeah, they actually did have the smaller animals and stuff, but not a lot. Not a lot. I don't know how many eggs chicken lay, but I suppose you would need like 10 chickens just to feed me eggs once a day or something. You know, one meal a day if we got the other meals covered and stuff if I'm eating. But yeah, watching that makes me question the whole food thing too. But mostly it's my own experience where I don't remember eating a lot most of my life. And even when I was a kid and there was food around me, I think I got whatever was left over or something like that. And it's not like I really pressed the matter, but I wouldn't have anyways, because my family always talked about money, and so it's like I'm not going to ask for more food. I'm pretty sure the times I did ask for more, they were like, nah. Pretty sure there's like, if it was like a night there's something good. Don't remember the exact words and everything. So it's like I would have grown up eating. And then that makes me think I was looking at cereal today too, and that's basically like cardboard or something. It's like dog food, but not as healthy or something. none of that adds up. That food would be needed, but they push it so hard, and and it's personal when you got people around you forcing it into your life, like people like you don't even want around you or using it as a way to like get into your life, things like that. Like a crackhead uses drugs to get into your life and stuff. Um, there's several things people use like that to get into your life, and when you don't want them around, or you don't feel safe, or whatever the purpose may be. People use food in the same way. Obviously, there are people addicted to food like drugs. Like that's where like look at Star Wars. Jabba the Hutt. He has people fucking traveling the solar systems to steal food for him and stuff. Meanwhile, Princess Leia looks like she's starving to death and doesn't look unhealthy. Mark Hamill also didn't look like he was eating much. He didn't look unhealthy. I don't know, it seems suspect. The humans just seem suspect, like everything they do. But which part of a lot of this isn't suspect? Santa Claus, drug addiction, controlling drug trades. Um, yeah, there's just the list isn't actually that long, but it all has a lot of patterns and how they do things when they are promoting something. Like the holiday thing, they talk about as much as food during those times. It's to push agendas, ideas, and corporatism. Another time where they push food and stuff. Supposedly some of that comes from times when people didn't have food or something. But then again, that looks suspect. When we have the whole everyone's illiterate 10 years before the internet is filled with 1 trillion people who can read and write. Yeah. Anyway, so I don't know what to do about that. I mean, what are you going to do about anything on Earth? You can't really do anything, can you? It's like I don't see anyone caring about the price of eggs going up, or there's some people commenting about Bill Gates buying up the food. Before that happens and stuff, and I guess that's just the result of what they would be doing when they do that. But I'm saying that they had to get people addicted to food in the first place in order to start getting to that point where they now sell like lettuce as real food, and it's literally just like crispy water. That's like females, like supposedly some of those females eat like just like lettuce and oil on top of it, and it's not even real food, so they're living without eating real food, and most of them don't look like like sickly anorexic. I've I might have only met 1 or 2 people who actually look that way. And I've definitely met some people who ate very little. I'm one of them and stuff. Well, I had a time 2 weeks ago where I woke up the next day and I was clearly like, I didn't have a scale, but I was like, I look bigger today. Like I hit the gym and then I didn't really eat. I ate like very little. I was actually eating more like the few days before that. I had taken I'd taken some pro hormones, but I noticed like I hadn't really eaten. I probably had like 500 calories or something, like half a hamburger. Not like a dollar hamburger size, half a real hamburger size. I had something like about that size, and I still woke up the next day looking bigger. Like, definitely, I was like, damn, this pro hormone shit's working. But I didn't eat that much that day. Hell, sometimes I can swell up from eating just because, like, salt and stuff. But that day, for some reason, like, my body had, like, morphed from eating very little the day before. So this whole food thing sounds like some Santa Claus stuff. And the Santa Claus stuff is often what's going on, like 40+% of the time. It's like there's some Santa Claus stuff going on, right? Like that's like half of the year there's some literal Santa Claus stuff going on. And then there's all this other stuff around it, like drug cartels who are good people and then killing other people for the ability to control that market. I mean, hell, literally, it's called farmers market. So that's, there's definitely a market. There's definitely stock prices on the stores that sell food, and it seems like a lot of it might be pretty fraudulent, especially that lettuce thing. Like, I mean, let's begin with the actual singular food products. Like the lettuce is like pretty much just water, and you're eating leaves. Hell, I was in a nation and I just ate a couple tree leaves and stuff. I was outside and traveling, and everything was closed where I was at. Kind of like it is in the area I'm at now. Everything closes at like 7 and stuff. Like that also ties into the weirdness of how nations can exist like that, but mathematically they couldn't. And especially like all that food on the shelves, all that stuff on the shelves being restocked, yet stores are never open. Or sometimes I was in places where I never seen vehicles, like food delivery vehicles, and yet larger populations than other cities I've been in that have large food delivery vehicles all the time, and other product delivery vehicles. But the food thing, it seems like something, and it's in line with a personality trait we see going around, where there's like crackheads who need their crack, and you don't really need crack, do you? But someone else does, and then crackheads try to get you to smoke crack sometimes, to that way, once because they're going to go spend like the $400 they got this month on one day, like a bag of crack, and smoke it all by the end of the day, and then they need someone else to buy them crack after that, so they give you a couple hits and stuff. And I've had people look like there are people in my life doing that with weed too. It's like spending all their money on weed, and then needing everyone else to chip in when they ain't got none. And it's like, it's just,
it's also weird too how this group tends to like invent all this useless stuff like this and have these patterns, where they need to invent these money siphons, and then they invent whips to force people to work for them, and teach them that they must work all the time in order to what? In order to go buy food. Like, you must work all the time so you can go buy food because you must eat. And you must go to the hospital and get some drugs from them. And then, so you gotta, throw some more bricks on the useless trinket pyramids. And it just looks like it'd be a huge building block. It looks like, this would have, if this is what it may appear as, it looks like this would have been their first, venture into convincing people they need something that they probably don't. And they're definitely like all those systems and those other patterns are here in the same thing. It's right there. You can find the same thing in those patterns there of how they act regarding the other patterns, like their drugs and their Bigfoot stories, their TV stories, soap operas, whatever. That's another addiction. We could probably draw some parallels there too, because addiction's all kind of the same, and what people need and should be doing is all the same. Hell, going to the Bigfoot stories, they will be selling you ads for drugs and then for food. I'll get those when I go on YouTube and Facebook. They're trying to sell me drugs. And then they're trying to sell me the hospital too, which is also the people selling drugs and selling the idea you gotta eat food. It's like a little, it's almost like a group of 6 people reinventing one idea over and over, and pushing it on people. And then they have a pattern of reinventing the same idea and pushing it on people, and getting them addicted to it, or convincing them they need it and they must have it. And then you get down to the low levels on the pyramid. You get, like your crackhead friends will be like, here's a cheeseburger, and then they're eating like 20 cheeseburgers a meal that day, and then in a couple of days they're out of cheeseburgers, and they're like, you got any money for cheeseburgers and stuff? Like, I helped you out the other day with a cheeseburger, man. And it's like, I don't want to smoke any crack. You kind of forced me to. You sure you need my money, and I can't spend it on something useful instead of food or drugs? Which leads us to something I'm going to close on. They have this pattern of taking everything of value from you and trying to make you like a low-level crack cheeseburger slave. There does indeed seem to be a pattern here, and that's not too far-fetched considering the rest of their thoughts and ideas and actions are pretty much this, where they come around and then they take anything of value, and then they force you to participate in their non-value meal society. That's like, what if I don't want to do drugs today, or if I don't want to eat and I want to go produce a CD or something like that, produce some music? Well, the odd thing is
the people in control of the drug trade and the food trade, and the people who look like some of the people in our lives or are playing these games, or those people are generally cult members or supporting cult members of this, of any of their cults or non-cults. Well, there are people already are doing all that stuff. You know, Elon Musk is already going to take you to space heaven. The Pope is already going to take you to space heaven. You don't need to do that. You should probably buy some cheeseburgers or some drugs instead, right? And I get to experience this personally, because apparently I got a lot of them in my life, where this comes through. You know, like even when you have someone like Kanye West in the media talking about people controlling everything, like he's still like related to those people. His family's still related to those people, so he's not actually doing that. They're not actually, you know, creating a musician outside of that stuff that is not their people, because his family definitely is. And these people in their books have written, you know, to keep other people away from advancing. Like literally it says don't collect money, like, so go buy food with it and stuff, right? It says don't do anything pretty much of value. It says do like slave labor and shit, and build the pyramid, haul the bricks in and place the bricks in a place on the pyramid so the people sitting on top of the pyramid can have a pyramid to sit on. So and this is like a pattern that I see linked to the food addiction thing, where we have a pattern of we got all these links where the food addiction thing is parallel to the other allowable things in society, or pushed and forced things in society, because it is both allowable and pushed and forced. And then, so who controls these narratives? They're also pushing these other narratives that you shouldn't do anything of value, and they obviously have their controlled opposition, where they're like, oh, you shouldn't use drugs, come to my hospital and buy good drugs to help you get off drugs. You know, like Zuckerberg and Google will give me ads selling me fucking hallucinogenic mind-frying mushrooms, and memory frying marijuana, and then like the next ad will be them selling, you know, they're selling me ingestible substance, and then the next ad will be their hospitals selling me the cure for what they've just caused by trying to sell that to me every 5 minutes they can and stuff. If I were to buy it every 5 minutes and use that every 5 minutes, I might think I need to go to their hospital and buy some other drugs to help me with their drugs. And then they'll have some ads for food. That's pretty much the free ads I get from there. Something to do with their lawsuits or their politics in between that. But I mean, they literally they're having problems coming up with much new ideas. You know, they're either advertising me the media, which is then in between that, the media is either advertising itself, it's advertising drugs, it's advertising their hospital drugs, it's advertising food, and obviously we have wars and religion, which are almost always co-combined, because we generally can't sell war without religion being attached to it, because it's got to be, if you know, like, most people are going to say in the open war isn't good,
this X thing where people are talking openly about war is kind of new, and they're not even in the open yet. They've, as I made documentaries on it, they've perfected how to manipulate Nazism to their side, and they've edited out certain discussions there and in their favor and stuff like that. And then they have people like Alex Jones have his people invade the Capitol, and then they use Alex Jones' database to go hunt down everyone who's ever been to his website. So we have we have these patterns here of people with these malicious attempts. Alex Jones is another good person for selling ingestibles and stuff. And he's selling them at like 5 times the price you could get them somewhere else and stuff like that. But you might not know that that's available somewhere else, and so he can get away with his demographic audience doing that, which would probably mostly be older people and stuff who don't realize everything's already on the net to buy cheap, or the other stuff might be at a local store. It's just not called Tangy Tangerine, or it's not called Super Male Vitality, and it's called like Maca Root, or whatever's actually in Super Male Vitality. And so yeah, we'd let it, most of corporatism seems just a scam. Like computers are pretty scammy ever since the masses came to them, especially. They're always pushing something new that's not even that good. For the most part, I stopped paying attention to computing because it just felt like it was like they were just inventing scams, and they work hard like lying and stuff. So it's involved with the corporatism. Food's involved with the corporatism, which the corporatism in almost every other aspect has this repeat pattern of, not being what it is and not being there to help you. Oh, the new iPhone 24. What does the ad for that even say? Like, it helps you browse Facebook 10 times faster than before or something? Like, no, it doesn't, first of all. And second of all, I don't think anyone needs that. But there it is, being forced down people's throats for them to buy it, and then you get addicted to that, and then you'll get a little lawsuit where you can sue the people, and they generally, I noticed with their laws and lawsuits, they tend to attack people who aren't them. Like Sam Walton didn't really look like them, and they attacked him, and then Puff Daddy doesn't really look like them, and then all of a sudden he's the biggest thing in the world. But yet the Weinstein trial, the dude who actually owns the media, is still going on, and no one's figured out what country they've hidden Jeffrey Epstein in or anything like that. And we're on to the new scam. There's so many instances of how they're using the media to manipulate things. And then the food thing, like, I know people around, like, personally, on very low levels of the pyramid, almost as low as you can go, if not as low as you can go, who are part of using food as a weapon or a manipulation tactic. And I would think mostly it's one of those things where it could be turned, like, you invade a nation and you're like, you kill off everyone and then you feed the children, and you're like, don't say I didn't do anything for you. It seems to be very useful in a situation like that for them. They're delivering care packages after they drop some bombs and stuff because they care, so they're giving you food. There's a lot of links to pretty bad people involved in food and stuff. And it's odd too that
there's like words to describe um, people addicted to food that they leave out while they still discuss certain other things, which they're openly behind and creating, but at the same time acting like they oppose, like child rape, mutilation stuff, and invasion, and oppressing their people, the people in their land. Very, very simple patterns to see in a personality, and if you see it in an animal that can't speak to tell you no, that's not what's happening. If you would see patterns in a dog doing something, you would know that that dog is going to continue with that pattern. But apparently, sometimes all you got to do is say, "No, I'm not doing that," or that's all you have to do if you can speak the same language, and somehow that washes the brains of people you're about to get to buy you some crack once you get them addicted to crack and stuff. I don't know how that works, but to me this is some of it's stuff I get shown like pretty much as it's happening. I can almost rely on the fact of knowledge that if I feel it when it's first happening, that's because it probably is happening. And I definitely know that happens, like going up to people and taking everything from them and then giving them some food. Like the church and their homeless shelters are great on that. Like they definitely use those the same way they used to. I mean, they use those. They use their whole cult to genocide the natives and steal this land. So, what day did they quit fabricating things to press ancient forms of slavery for no good reason at all, like building stupid pyramids and giving reasons to force people to labor and stuff, and so they can get some sort of tribute or just enslave them. Like if you just enslave people, you're enslaving them, which is still fun and acceptable to some people. That's leisure time. Some people like to eat food. Some people like to put other people in shackles. Some people like both. In fact, like it might go hand in hand with some people. In fact, I'm sure it does. I've seen those patterns where this is it, where you can use food to convince people to have it. And then once they get used to having it, they're going to feel they need to have it all the time. And then you hold it, the carrot on the stick thing that